Hey guys. So today I want to share with you the kind of signals that you get from a life when it may be time for you to quit PMO, whenever that may be for you. Now for me personally guys, I've had every single one of these signals and I can tell you that having them sucks, right? It's definitely hard. But if you remain open to what they're pointing you towards, you can change your life and you can do so pretty meaningfully. Now just before we get into them, what do we mean by a signal exactly? Well, for me guys, a signal is something that creates friction in your life. It's something that stops you from being yourself and living your life normally and happily. So a kind of like jarring and disruptive thing that really sticks out and draws your attention back to PMO and how it's negatively affecting your life. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore a couple of these signals and we're going to talk about the deeper significance that they have in helping us to see the damage that PMO causes. Now this video is going to be a little bit more heavy than usual guys, but I think that's completely okay. I think it's just something to accept. I find talking about this stuff openly and without judgment is just the wisest and most conscious thing to do. So let's do that and let's jump in. The first signal that I want to share with you guys is a really strong one, and it is erectile dysfunction. So this signal is obviously a physical one, and for many of us on this path, I find it can be very much like the last straw. So the thing that really wakes us up, or the thing that really makes us pay attention. Because having been on this path myself, guys, I can tell you that what we tend to do is we tend to put up with everything we can possibly put up with until eventually there comes a moment where something like ED happens and we just say, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is really getting out of hand. So with this signal, obviously it's not a fun experience, guys. You know, it can really hurt emotionally. It can make us feel like crap. It can make us question ourselves and overthink stuff. But what is it actually pointing towards? Well, guys, I would suggest that it's trying to make us realize and see that PMO totally messes with our own minds. In particular, it messes with our mental health, our perception of sex, our drive for sex, and our physical function, right? All of these things, they do actually stem from the mind. And if there's one thing to learn, is that your mind is just the most important thing that you have. And unfortunately, PMO, it damages that mind in such a way where you cannot be in your natural state. Rather, you're in this more kind of depleted state. And essentially, the more you care about your life and being happy, the less willing you're going to be to keep that state in your life whatsoever. So let's say you've experienced this signal and you're feeling the effects of it. What should you do exactly? Well, what I recommend, guys, is when you're ready to have the most incredible courage and actually admit to yourself the possibility that ED, erectile dysfunction, is a consequence of using PMO. Now, could there be some other factors involved? Yeah, sure, of course. But to be completely honest, guys, from all the people that I've ever spoken to about this, PMO tends to be the culprit. It tends to be the thing that everything boils down to. Now, is this an easy thing to admit, guys? The answer is hell no, right? If it gives you guys some perspective, when I went through this in my own life, personally, one thing I noticed was how my mind became just about the most evasive thing in the whole freaking universe, right? All of a sudden, my mind became just next level creative in its excuse making and its rationalizing, right? I would do the most stunning mental gymnastics of all time to convince myself that PMO had nothing to do with it, right? No way was it the thing that was causing it. However, if you guys are curious about what actually changed things for me, it was just when I decided to be honest with myself, which allowed me to sober up from PMO, spend some time away from it, and so I could heal and really recover properly. And you know, this takes some time, guys. It really does. It can take months, it can take years, but eventually you do heal. And when you do heal, you feel so good that you listen to the signal, and you feel so much more confident in yourself. Now, our next signal, guys, is another really powerful one, and that is having brain fog. Now, I used to absolutely hate this, more than anything in the whole world, because I find it just robs you of yourself and being able to function like a normal human being, right? If I really think back, I can think of so many times, primarily in my teenage years, where having brain fog just caused me so much suffering, right? And deep down, I knew that the kind of life that I wanted to live would not exist had my mind, been hazy and foggy. So having had this signal, I became super determined to purify my mind and make it clear, sharp, strong, and healthy. And that's exactly what I did when it was the right time for me to make those changes. Now again, what is this signal trying to show us exactly? Well, I would suggest, guys, it's trying to show us that our cognitive ability is just not going to be the same if we blast ourselves with dopamine. Instead, to have a healthy and well-functioning mind, PMO, which as we know is a super powerful drug, cannot remain in our lives. Now I say that, but at the same time, you guys know that I do actually have a very accepting attitude towards PMO. And that's because I'm very aware of how long it can take to fully detach from it long term, right? So in my eyes, it just makes no sense to be negative about things. The best way to be is positive, optimistic, and non-judgmental. Because otherwise you're just going to find yourself coming from below, right? So being judgmental, projecting standards, moralizing. And this is a really unwise way to be. Now, here's a good question. Can you be understanding and accepting even when you have the brain fog in the first place? And the answer here might actually be no, right? What needs to happen first is an initial period of really strong discipline to kick PMO out of your life for the most part, so that once you've got it under more control, then you can be, more chill, more easygoing about things. That's at least how it was for me. Now, for our third signal, guys, we have the experience of feeling just dissatisfied with pretty much everything you do, right? Another way of saying this is you can't enjoy the small stuff because everything you do feels just dull in comparison to a PMO rush, right? And to share another personal example here, guys, back when I was struggling with this, I would literally get tactical with my approach to life. I would literally make life work enough so that I could get through things because I knew that on the other side of them, I would have opportunities for PMO. The mind of an addict, it's weirdly, strangely smart. And as I said, kind of tactical, right? You're always calculating stuff. You're always planning ahead, thinking, how can I get more? How can I make this more intense? How can I, keep this going? And honestly, being this way, guys, being an addict, it's like a full-time job. And I really don't recommend it. If you want to live a chill and happy life, stay away from that. So anyway, guys, what is this signal pointing us towards? Well, it's saying to us, hey, life is best enjoyed sober and with high sensitivity, right? PMO robs us of our sensitivity and makes us crave these unusually high peaks. So what we've got to do is we've got to let these peaks go, and we've got to let our natural baseline level of happiness increase by living in accordance with wise principles and having really good self-discipline. Now, what is a good thing to remember as we work through all of this stuff? Well, it's that these signals, guys, they actually need to suck, right? They have to be awful, because if we weren't, if they weren't really awful, we just wouldn't listen. We wouldn't take them seriously. So remember that they have to be nice and strong, and that's so we actually pay attention. Finally, guys, to start wrapping up, I want you to remember that this journey is complex, it's difficult, and it's long term. Do not worry about fixing all this stuff right away. Because in my experience, the universe does have your back, right? As long as you're working on yourself and always just doing your best, you can trust that things will eventually turn around. Otherwise, I recommend you relax, you keep everything chill, keep working to outgrow PMO, and good luck with everything else that you guys are up to. And finally, if you'd like any support with outgrowing PMO or leveling yourself up in life, I do offer coaching. And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, feel free to check out the link in the description. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed this one and you like more, then my friends, please do subscribe.